that one out there to be like, okay, I could do it too.
Yeah, get their ass in the gym.
Yeah, you just work out.
Get your ass in the gym.
And
that solves all problems. Whatever problem you have as a basketball player, get in the gym.
That's it.
That's it. Just like in school, right? You're struggling in class?
Correct.
Study.
Okay.
There's no magic formula.
Welcome to Sin City Sports Talk. I'm your host, Roman Marquez. On episode 13, today's guest is none other than a player that's been at Ohio State University Newark. He has the scoring title there. He's led an assist. He's played overseas. He's won a national title as a coach. Coach Ché Jones, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. So we're getting into it. You went to Las Vegas High School, right?
Yes,
growing
the original
up.
one.
But
downtown.
you're born in Detroit, but you're raised in Vegas.
No. Ooh.
No?
Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
Michigan.
They're different.
Look at me. Do I look like I'm from Michigan?
Yeah, but you're raised in Vegas, the heart of the city, Las Vegas. But what got you into coaching? Like, how do you go from that great of a basketball player to now one of the better coaches in the city?
For me, I kind of did it the opposite way. I grew up idolizing Coach Tark and the UNLV program. When we moved out here from Ohio after the blizzard, we moved out here. And one of the first things I saw was the Rebels playing basketball. And I remember seeing Robert Smith, who was to me, watching it, he looked like he was really small, like my size.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't understand that the other guys were 7 feet tall. But I was a little kid, first, second grade, and I'm seeing him run around. And it was the most amazing thing to me. And we ended up going to a couple of games, and then they would talk to Coach Tark on TV. And I just grew up just like idolizing him because I came from Ohio where Woody Hayes was, and Woody Hayes was the man in Columbus. So when I came out here, I was aware that Coach Tark was the man at UNLV. So watching them, growing up watching them, I wanted to be like Coach Tark.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So, but as I got older and I knew that coaching is what I wanted to do, I knew that you had to have a degree. You had to go, to work at a university, you had to have a degree. So I was like, well, how am I going to get my degree? My family's not, independently wealthy.
Correct.
So I had to figure it out, So I was like, well, let me get my degree and then I can go. And I was actually out of high school for a couple of years. And I was like, you know what, this is how basketball is going to be my conduit to what it is that I want to do.
Yeah.
So I first had to improve my game to that level. I was a decent high school player. I played in a really good program with a really good coach at Las Vegas High School, played with some of the best players to come out of Las Vegas. I played in a really good era of high school basketball here. So for me, it was more or less improving myself so that I was able to play at the college level. And then that obsession to improve myself went from one thing to the next.
So you never had aspirations like going to the NBA or just strictly coaching?
It's funny. No, that I never was like, I want to go to the NBA, and I never thought that. I never thought that. My reasoning for going to college was so that I can get a degree, so that I can coach. Yeah. I remember one summer I worked out with Chip England, who's a shooting coach, worked with some of the great NBA guys. I worked out with him one summer, and he improved some things on my shot, and he was telling me how well I shoot. And I remember that following summer I was home. I was playing with Gerald Patio, one of the great three-point shooters at UNLV, and he was commenting on how well I shoot. And I started feeling like, man, I can really shoot the ball. So I worked on that, fine-tuned some other things, played with the best players I could find. And then the next thing I knew, I was getting an opportunity to go overseas and be a pro.
And so necessarily you were a pro, just not the NBA level.
Yeah.
Correct.
But it wasn't anything that was my goal.
Yeah.
But I remember at one point in time, myself, Kevin Simmons, Keon Clark, Tyrone Nesby, Prince Fowler, all of us were playing, and this mentality was, go get the money. Let's go get some money. And I was like, man, I went from being an average high school player to a guy that now I'm focused on whether or not I can actually go overseas and make some money and play basketball. It just kind of changed everything. That the landscape changed for me.
Yeah.
So then I began to think, wow, it would be cool for my kids to be able to know that I played at that level. And then I knew it would also help me as a coach. You know, guys want to play for guys that have done what they're trying to do.
So you think you're more of a player's coach?
Definitely. You know, I've always been really good at relationships, getting to know people, making people feel comfortable. I just have always been the social butterfly, you know.
Okay.
So the relationship part of it, which I think is the most important part of it, has never been an issue for me.
Okay.
Never been an issue for me. I just knew that I needed to get myself in a situation in which colleges would hire me because I had a degree. I also knew that I needed to have my own philosophy and style and understanding of playing, and that comes with not only playing but just studying the game.
Correct.
You know,
So what? But you are, like I said, you were a great basketball player. You held the scoring title at Ohio State.
I'm the second all-time leading scorer there.
So and then you have
I was second in everything. never quite, like I didn't get to the NBA. So I was the second all-time leader in score. I was the second all-time leader in assist. I think I did for a while. I made the most three-pointers, but then I think somebody passed me.
Even the free throw percentage wise, right?
Yeah, free throw percentage, you know. But most everything was second. I was second to somebody.
You're right there.
And it wasn't the same guy. It was like Rob Smith, not our Rob Smith here, but Rob Smith out there was the all-time leader in scoring. There's another guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was the top. No, Rob Smith was the top in assists, and another guy was the top in scoring. And it was, you know, so I was the second best.
Just never could quite catch him, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, you but then you continue your college career at Phoenix College, right? You're coaching the women's?
No, I was coaching the men there. I've coached pretty much all over the country. Had some really good teams in Ohio, but then I started coaching at NAU.
Yeah.
With Jack Murphy, who's also from Vegas. He was with the Denver Nuggets and Memphis, some other places.
Correct.
Now the associate head coach over at U of A.
Oh, okay.
But I went there with Jack and Coach LaRock here. You know, Coach LaRock. We were at NAU together. Then after I was there for a year, I had an opportunity to go down to Phoenix and be at Phoenix College.
Oh, okay.
And you know, I talked with the coach there, and he was like, "Listen, we're scratching the surface, but we just need to get tougher. I just need somebody to get us tougher, and our guards to get tougher." And I was like, "Wow, that's right up my alley." You know what I mean? So came in, and what was it? I think 8 months later, we were national champions.
Yeah, how crazy is that, winning a national title? Like, was that one of the biggest times of your, like, being a player to that? Was that one of your bigger times?
Yes, until this season. And I've been saying that for the last few months. Winning a national title is what you set out to do every single year.
Correct.
That is what the ultimate goal. You know, if you're dating, your ultimate goal is to get married and have a family, right? You know, if you're the parent, you want to be the best parent you could possibly be. So as an athlete and as a coach, your ultimate goal is to win the ultimate title, whether that's a national championship, a world championship, a state championship, whatever that may be. So that's what our goal was, and that's what I preached every single day. You know, a lot of people shy away from that, but no, that's what our goal is.
Yeah.
You know, so to do that, to accomplish that, it was weird because months later, years later, I was there. I know what happened in the game. Yeah. I can watch the game today and still get butterflies in the final minutes thinking, how are we going to pull this out?
Yeah.
Man, and then there was a play at the end where kid had a breakaway layup, and another Vegas kid, Joel Fiegler from Durango High School.
Okay.
He comes.
Did you recruit him?
No, he was actually there. He was actually there. But so he has a wide open layup, lays it up, misses the wide open layup to seal the game. And I see out the corner of my eye a ref coming from the distance, just waving it off. And I'm like, what? And he was like, no bucket, no bucket. And I'm thinking to myself, man, we're about to win a national title like this, though. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, you know. And I remember talking about it. They called it goaltend. And I remember talking about it later that night at the hotel.
Yeah.
Joe was like, no way, coach, it was a goaltend. I was he was like, it was a goaltend. Look. So we watched the film, and I never noticed it, but the kid stuck his hand through the basket, poked it out.
So he didn't actually miss it.
No, he didn't miss it. It looked like, remember Patrick Ewing missed it in the playoffs like that? That's what it looked like. But the kid poked his hand through the basket and poked the ball out.
And that ref seen
I
that
never
all the way
saw
down
it.
there.
The ref saw it from down there. And I was like, man, I felt so relieved because I was like, I thought we were going to have a dirty national title. You know what I mean?
No, we got paid off that game.
Yeah, right.
So What brings you back to CSN? Because like you said before, there was no programs, there was no football team, there was nothing. And at one point, intramurals. So how does it get to that point now to where it's
you know what?
college?
As far as myself, coming back to Las Vegas was a little bittersweet. My father-in-law had passed away.
Okay.
So I was coaching at Phoenix College at the time, and I knew there was just no way that as a family we could function being there, knowing that we were needed here. Our hearts were here, our minds were somewhere else, you know, and I made the tough call that we needed to come back to Vegas.
So did you, how did that go for that? Do you got to reach out as coaches or be like, hey, we're looking?
Well, so this is what happened. I spent my first 2 years here. I was covering UNLV basketball. I wasn't coaching. I kind of even at one point in time felt like I wasn't going to get an opportunity to coach again. You know, I missed it. It was, you know, just there's a certain time of season that everything changes. You're either recruiting, you're doing conditioning, you're preparing for the season, or it's the Christmas break and you're preparing for conference, or it's the end of, you know, right before spring, you're preparing for March Madness. Your biological clock kind of
all
starts
season going.
So I was feeling that all the time. I just didn't feel as though there was a venue for me to release that. You know, and then I started getting calls from people saying, oh, the job at CSN is open. And, you know, a really close friend of mine, a kid that I brought up, Marcus Banks, he was saying to me, you know, I talked to the coach over there, you need to be coaching over there. And you need to be coaching at Dixie. And then, you know, so some things that were brewing, but nothing really, really serious. But then when the coaching vacancy opened and the new coach had come in, Mike Lee, I'd reached out to a couple of people that knew him. And we're like, yo, man, this will be great. We got to connect you guys. He gave me a call and said, you know, a lot of people have been telling me that I need to call you. We hit it off right away, went to dinner, myself, he, another coach, and the athletic director. And really, we meshed really well. So from there, we got it going. And, you know, the first year was a little rough because we took the job so late. We didn't have a chance really to recruit our players for our system, you know, but this last year we were able to do that. And you had asked me about national championship, and I know we'll discuss that a little bit later, but being able to do what we were able to do this year here in the city that I grew up in, it's tremendous to me. It's one of my biggest, for me personally, it's one of my biggest accomplishments.
So how hard is it, like recruiting at the JUCO level to like, if you had to recruit D1 level, like is it harder getting certain kids? Because you know, obviously everybody's goal is to go D1, right? So what brings them to you, or what, like how do you form that connection?
I'm really
to bring them here.
I don't want to say that I'm unique or different when it comes to recruiting. I do things differently. I will say that, but I'm sure there's other guys that see it the way I see it. My first thing is to establish a relationship with a kid. If the kid can't trust in the fact that when I ask Coach Ché, he's going to tell me the truth. It might hurt my feelings, but it's going to be the truth. I need to establish that relationship. A lot of guys that I've recruited, I've known for 3-4 years prior to them ever playing for me. Basketball is a game of confidence. It's a game of mistakes. You have to be mentally tough enough to play through those mistakes. You got to be mentally tough enough to accept constructive criticism regularly. As a player, coaches are probably going to tell you more negatives than positives, and you have to be mentally tough enough to withstand that. But I think the conduit that makes that all come together is knowing that, you know, Coach Ché loves me.
So is it hard, like knowing a kid like that for a long time and then them hearing the reality of it as a coach?
And that's
from the
specifically why I do it. You know, I've had rough conversations with Hank Dorms. I've had rough conversations with David Michaels, with Hayden Ratner, with all the guys that.
And these are all guys that done really well in the city.
Yes. You know, Marcus. I used to, you know, tell Marcus. You know, and lots of times our conversations don't have anything to do with basketball.
Game of life.
Yeah, because you know, Coach Larotte had a saying on a camp shirt that it's been a big part of what I have done over the last 25 years. It's elevate your mind to elevate your game. Mentally weak individuals will never be good athletes, husbands, employees, whatever. Like, you know, the mind is the nucleus to the success.
Do you feel like this city itself like brings a certain nick or like grit to some of these players coming out of Vegas?
Definitely.
Because we've had certain players that you don't look at and they shine.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm one of
So
them. Yeah.
what's so much about this city that brings that out? You think there's a dog in you guys?
Well, I was just saying this to Josh Pastner about 2-3 weeks ago, is that our women in this city work harder than most men doing manual labor in most cities.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Nah.
Now, you're talking about basketball, and you're talking about a sport that is predominantly black and brown kids who unfortunately are raised by a lot of single mothers
Correct.
who have the burden of being mama and dad, who have the burden of taking care of their families, putting it on their back, right? Working in a city where the industry is service, the industry is hospitality.
Correct.
So you gotta wear a face every day. And you can pretend for a while, but ultimately you have to buy into that.
Yeah.
Right? So the individuals in this city are working day in, day out, not for themselves to succeed at the highest level, but for someone else.
Yeah.
We work our fingers to the bone every single day to make other people wealthy.
Yeah.
Right? And have to do it with a smile.
Oh yeah.
Right? So that resilience, that toughness, it trickles down into our kids. I say this all the time. Vegas kids go off to school and play.
Yeah.
We don't go places and sit the bench.
Yeah.
We play.
Correct.
At one point in time, almost all of us were leading our teams in scoring, leading our teams in assists, the best defender on our teams. We do not go someplace and just exist at the end of the bench.
Yeah.
You know?
So ideally, you say that, but then why is it that UNLV looks past so much talent we have here? I asked that multiple questions and multiple people have come on, but they get overlooked and shine.
Well, I think that has been the Achilles heel in the past. From what I know from Josh and the energy that, you can imagine how energetic that conversation is.
Oh, yeah.
Josh and I, we're two guys that are really excitable and bouncing off the walls. But, I think that that's going to change. I know that he's looking at young guys now. Don't be surprised if he offers young guys in this city.
But it's so hard now to keep kids, money, NIL is a big thing. So it's like.
See, I'm on the opposite side of that. I'm on the opposite side of that. I think it's an easy cop-out for coaches and athletic directors to tell boosters and fans.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. I say this to kids all the time, and people may take this in an arrogant way, and it's not narcissistic. It's just the truth. There's not another school in America that can give you what I can give you.
Okay.
And what I can give you is Ché Jones. No other school has Ché Jones.
Correct.
We have Ché Jones. I can give you Ché Jones. Now, if you go off to Kansas, if you go off to Kentucky or wherever you go, right, I may not be able to have access to you all the time, and you can call me whenever you want to.
Yeah.
But if you're in my gym, we're going to talk every single day. And I'm not just going to talk to you about the offense or the defense. I'm going to talk to you about the way you talk to instructors, the way you talk to fans, the way you talk to your friends, the way you talk to your girlfriend, the way you talk to your teammates, the way you talk to the lady at the restaurant when we're on the road. All of these things. And they're going to be the same exact things that I teach my boys, Ché and Clemente, at home. The same exact things. So that, I just got a letter from a kid who was talking about, his father's never been around, and the mentorship means a lot to him. And I, for the life of me, can't remember anything that I said to him from a mentor's standpoint, right? But that lets me know that it's genuine because I don't remember these conversations that this kid talks about. And everyone talks about how good of a kid he is, how kind he is, how generous he is. And I see that in him and I think, wow, his mother raised him right.
Correct.
But he's, out of the blue, just gave me this letter talking about how my mentorship has changed him, right? So I think that when kids see that genuine care and concern for him, they buy into it and they emulate what it is you do. I had a kid at one of the colleges I was at. He said to me, I need to become a man, and you're the only person that can make me be a man.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
But that's extremely mature of a 19-year-old to see that. And now when I talk to him, and he has a wife, he's got 2 kids, and what he talks about, what he talks about back then, he was like, you were the, he said, I was the boy that, you were the man that the boy that I was could become.
Damn.
He said, lots of times I get these people trying to tell you how to do something, but you're like, I'm not going to be like him.
Correct.
He said, but I could see you and see that I could be like that. I can be like you. So what you said to me, it resonated. It stuck. He said, at the time, my boys were really little. And he said, I see you with your sons and your wife, because they go everywhere with me. He was like, yeah, I could do that. I could be that kind of dad. I could be that kind of husband.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think kids need to see you being genuine, because ultimately what we want from them is to be genuine with their teammates, to be genuine on the court, to be genuine in the community, right?
Correct.
So we want that from them, but we don't emulate it.
So everybody's a salesman at this point.
Exactly.
They're not there for the kids. It's like,
so what are they selling?
what could you do for me, and what can I get out of you?
Exactly. And that's the thing. What are they selling?
A transaction.
They're not selling what you can become. They're selling the program.
Yeah.
And the program should be a byproduct of what I can help you become. Because if I can help you become great and you're a part of this program, and I can do that with him, and I can do that with him, what is this program going to be? It's going to be great.
Exactly.
It's going to be great, right? So I think that's the thing. I don't care. We joke about this, the coaches that I coached with at the time, some other guys I know out in Ohio. I was the only person in the country to recruit LeBron. And at the time, Keith Dambrot, who was his coach at St. V, I would always say to him, I was like, well, he should consider Columbus State.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to the NBA. And of course he is.
Yeah.
But what if David Stern says no? He hasn't taken the ACT. He's not prepared to go to college.
Oh, yeah.
So what if he says no?
There's always a what if factor.
So he's going to have to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I said, we're prepared to play our games at the Schottenstein Center.
Damn.
If he decides to come, and coach would laugh. But hey, yeah, why not?
That could have been it.
What's going to happen if it doesn't happen? I'll tell you what happened. We were fine. We went on and we were number one in the nation. Denard Taylor played at Gorman.
Yeah.
He was on that team. We were really good. We were really good. Without LeBron, we were really good, right? But if things wouldn't have transpired the way that they did, and he needed the opportunity to go to a school, why not go to one that's there isn't a school for him to go to in Akron? There's Akron Wayne University, but Columbus State, we were pretty good.
Yeah.
Recognized in the nation. He can come down there and play for us. He's right next to Ohio State. Why not? But my thing was this: when it comes to the maturity that he needs, because at the time, a good friend of mine, Chris Dennis, who was kind of his manager at the time, he lives here in Vegas now. He was kind of the adult in the room at the time for LeBron. And, at that time, myself, Chris, Keith, nobody knew that LeBron was going to become this man that he became.
Exactly.
Right? He was a kid. Yeah. Very respectful kid, hardworking kid that no one had anything negative to say about, but he was a kid. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking, being much older, I can provide some mentorship for him. I can, because this is going to become, he's the Beatles now. Yeah. Right?
Everywhere he goes.
He handled it better than probably anybody in the history of that situation has ever handled it, probably, right? However, we didn't know that. So that was kind of my stick to his people, right? And if it didn't work, it would have been a great situation. But my thing was simply this. There's all these universities. Everybody's like, well, if he doesn't go to the NBA, where's he going to go? Duke, he's going to go here. At that time, if you didn't qualify, you weren't getting in. It wasn't.
No way.
No, you had to graduate. You had to have a certain GPA. You had to have a certain score. You weren't just walking into colleges like how it is today. I mean, they've all but scrapped test scores after COVID. Like, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit easier, you know? But I say that to say this. I don't think anybody is not recruitable based on the climate of college basketball.
The way it is now, though, for sure.
I don't think that anyone is not recruitable. Now, I think there are some players that are easier to recruit if you have some resources that perhaps you didn't have before. But let's do a little social experiment here. So you leave this school to go to that school, and the excuse is the money is so much better, right? Yeah. Because you're going from $15,000, you go over here, you're gonna get $300,000 and get a nice car and apartment and this, that, and the other. So if that's the case and that money is so great, why doesn't that kid stay there? Why didn't he stay there?
Yeah, relationships.
At one point in time, at one point in time, I think there were 4 or 5 Division I universities in good conferences that did not have one player on their roster. Baylor was one of them.
Yeah.
There was not one player on the roster. That's crazy. That is crazy. So all of that we're talking about, it is the one thing that it's creating that we're not paying attention to is it's created this cesspool of me, not we. And we're worrying about the money, how these kids are spending the money. Is it creating? No, what it is doing, it's eliminating the idea of we. So you will eventually, lose Rock Chalk Jayhawk. You will lose, we have almost, for the most part here at UNLV, lost the Jaws theme and Thomas and Mack.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The culture of what makes college athletics different than professional athletics is being lost, not because of money. It's being lost because we're not allowing kids to buy into anything. We're all, and we want to blame it on the kids, but we're all coaches, athletic directors, boosters, fans, players, families.
Exactly.
Eyes are on the prize, which is the money. I think this would work if these NIL deals became long-term contracts.
Yeah, like at least 2-3 years,
2 to 3
right?
years, right?
And you can't, like...
Exactly.
Because that's what I was thinking, too. Like, okay, so what happens with that money? Like, let's say you get $300 from a local Canes, right? $300,000 from a local Canes. But then you leave. Do you automatically... Well, they already have the money, right? They're already locked in with it. It's gone.
These are things that haven't necessarily... I think we rushed into this. I remember years ago I was talking to a coach. I was like, so how are we going to pay athletes? Is it going to become like a welfare system?
Yeah.
Like, how is it going to work? Because universities, they don't want to pay employees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how is this really going to work? And isn't it going to create the same atmosphere as before, where the rich get richer and the poor get poor?
Yeah.
You know? But I think what you're seeing right now, currently, my good friend Mike Bibby's the head coach at Sacramento State.
Oh, yeah.
That Sacramento State...
Well, you seen what they just did.
It's unreal what Mike is doing over there.
Yeah.
First of all, Shaq is Daddy Warbucks. Like, he's got an endless amount of resources.
Correct.
Not to mention just a bank. He's a bank.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So they're in the process of building a new facility. And I forget who the kid's name was, a football player. They just signed a high-level football player.
Dang.
Not an football player. But so if ultimately football and basketball at Sacramento State is going to just skyrocket.
Overnight. So how close is CSN to that level?
Well, you know what I mean? I think that...
it's going in the right direction, obviously.
Yeah, I think ultimately, as a Division I junior college, I think we could be a perennial powerhouse in the country, mainly because of 2 things. Number one, we're in a place where people want to go. Most of the good junior colleges, and I've been at the junior college level for the majority of my career, most of the good junior colleges are not in the coolest places for 19-year-olds to want to go, right? Las Vegas is a pretty cool place, especially for those who've never been here. So I think ultimately we'll get to the point where we'll be able to recruit out of state handedly, like the teams in the Jayhawk League in Kansas, some of the teams in Arizona, the Utah schools. We're not quite there yet.
So you guys primarily just getting in-house kids from the city?
Yes.
So it's all Vegas kids?
I mean, we're not, there's no scholarships involved. There are obviously no NIL deals, and those are things that as a coaching staff, we're working towards. We're trying to go in that direction. But the first thing is to win. The first thing is to be successful. I think we're going to get our first batch of kids, Elijah Conway Wilson, Cyril Franklin, Chase Jackson, Dave Estes. These are really good kids that in 5 to 10 years, when they're done with college, will be working in this community, and they'll be pillars of this community, like Anthony Marshall has been from UNLV. Just a guy that is a good quality
He's
person.
involved with CSN a lot?
No, but he was at UNLV, and he works with the Doolittle Community Center now. Does things in the community. He's just a good guy. He's a person that our kids can look up to.
Exactly.
We have a few kids like that in our program that as they graduate and they start working in this community, and people want to know their stories, where they're from, what they did. And they're, CSN. I think that's a true testament of what
honestly,
our program.
the basketball program, he could get like that because look at the baseball program like that. Bryce Harper.
Nick did an amazing, Nick is another Vegas guy. Nick and I played against each other in high school. Nick has done an amazing job with being able to, number one, recruit the right kids.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing at the JUCO level. It's not just recruiting. At the D1 level, it's just recruiting good players, right? At the JUCO level, it's recruiting the right players because you have to understand everybody's eligible at the JUCO level.
Oh, okay. So you basically walk out of high school right in.
Walk right out of prison. Everybody is eligible.
So that's what you got to go get.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like you don't have to pick from a certain population. Whereas at the Division I level, you need kids that are graduated high school, that can academically get into the school, that are academically astute, that can actually go through the regimen of going to school every day. At the community college level, they do have to do those things, but they will have to prove that they can't before they're kicked out of the school. Whereas at the university level, they would never get in. Now, with that being said, probably the best player I've coached at the JUCO level was a National Player of the Year in 2015 for us, was the MVP of the national tournament when we won it all. Brandon Brown was in the wrong place at the wrong time, was, in my opinion, unjustly, but neither here nor there. He had to go to jail, being with the wrong crowd and the wrong time. And that has become his testimony, but he did that, came to us, we won a national championship, goes to Loyola Marymount, has a brilliant career there. He's still playing professionally.
Yeah,
right?
That's what 10 years
exactly. And that's what you want to be able to do for young people, right? So that pass doesn't mean absolutely not.
Yeah.
You do have to take that chance and that risk on certain individuals. He was, in my opinion, like I said, unjustly.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I don't want to go too much into it. It's my personal opinion. I don't think it was fair.
Correct.
But neither here nor there, I think it did create a certain
grit.
It gave him a little something. It gave him something, a purpose, other than just loving the game, other than just wanting to make money. It gave him something, And I think we met him in the middle and had certain boundaries that he needed to stay within and certain goals that he needed to accomplish, and he knocked it out the park.
So what do you look at for a player when you're looking at a recruit him? What type of player are you looking for?
First and foremost, obviously we're looking at players that are talented.
Yeah.
I think, the success of any program, if you get caught up looking for talented players, you can look up and have a locker room full of talented guys that can't play together, that have low basketball IQs. This team that we had this past season, in all of my years of playing, it's the first team I've ever been a part of as a player or a coach that every single player was a good kid. I've been on, and listen, and I'm not just blowing smoke here. Like you can name any year, and I can tell you what team I coached that year, and 6 or 7 guys off the team could tell you which guy was that bad guy, and that bad guy will tell you, "Oh, it was me." It was me. I was the a-hole. What I mean? So this year was the first year, and I remember at this time last year, I was kind of saying this to our staff. It's like, look at these guys on this list. These are great kids.
Yeah.
They're going to come to practice. They're not going to talk back to coaches. They're not going to kick the ball rack. They're not going to cheat in class. They're not going to do any of these things that plague junior college athletics.
Like what junior college is known for.
The bad reputation that junior colleges have because of a select few people over the last 40 years. That couldn't be further from the truth. But this is the first team I've ever been a part of that every single kid was a great kid. So we layer that with high basketball IQs.
Okay.
Their attention to detail when we would go over things with them was exceptional, right? The fact that they're all talented makes you work your butt off because he can do the job. You can't do it.
Exactly.
He can do it.
You're replaceable.
So the iron is sharpening iron.
Yeah.
Right? And as it moved along and we were having success, and then we play at such a high level, and we're playing, we beat nationally ranked team, they start believing.
Yeah.
And they start not only believing that they're good, but believing, and this is important, they're believing that they're good for this specific reason. So since they believe in this reason, they've all bought into the reason. So now they're working hard for one another every single day. So it's important that you have good people. And I think more so at the junior college level, right? The other thing is, our system is not the easiest system in the world to play in. It's extremely demanding. We don't have guys that can play over 7 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we get up and down. I mean, we
So
scored
you're more of a running
158 points in a game this year.
Oh, okay. You trying to bring them target days over here, huh?
Yeah, that's the style that we play. I've always kind of
That's more of the exciting basketball everyone wants to see, the scoring,
yes,
up and down, the track meet.
It is. So it's extremely demanding of the player. With it being that demanding, there are still intangibles that have to be met. Our wings got to get to the corners. Our bigs have to run rim to rim. Our point guards got to get butt to the sideline and look up and get the ball and push. Nothing there, go opposite. There's a lot of things, details. It's not chaos as though it may look that way to the naked eye, but guys know where their teammates are at all given given time, doing their job, and you're trusting that the guy next to you will do his job, right? So I think it's important that you not only get talented kids and the best people you can get, but the right pieces to what it is your system requires. You can't have a Jokic in a system that's going up and down like that.
Yeah.
You're hurting him as a player, you're hurting your team. So it was important that we were able to put the right kind of guys together, and that formula seemed to work. And that's a formula that we're bought into as a program, we're bought into as a staff. Our limited fan base likes that.
How big are the fans right now? Is it getting there?
It's great, but it's exactly what I want, because I coached in Wyoming and we had a place that was similar to like Hot's Pavilion, a little place like that. But when it's half full, you see that with Thomas and Mack. Like, I feel as though UNLV would be great at dollar loan.
Oh,
you can pack it, right?
Loud too.
Yeah. So when you come to our place, I think, and don't quote me on this, I think it's like 150, maybe 250 capacity in there.
Really? Okay. So kind of like back in the Gorman.
Yes, it's like the House of Glory.
Okay.
Everyone's screaming.
So it's a good crowd size.
We have refs that just don't like officiating there because our fans are almost as close as you and I are, and they say whatever, and they don't care, and it gets.
So if you want to come and catch a game, you got to probably get there early.
Oh, you definitely have to. Definitely have to.
What are the ticket prices? Are they charge or what?
Oh yeah, like $10.
Oh, so everything's reasonable.
Yeah. But I mean, it's we're on top of you. Teams are very uncomfortable there. Our fans are right.
But the home crowd or like people that are rooting for them, like that's what you want. That's what you want, like that.
So I mean, it would be great to maybe get a game or two like at Orleans or Dollar Loan or something. That would be cool. A great experience for our players, especially if they're going to the next level to get to play in that type of environment. We go up to Salt Lake. Salt Lake has a really nice place.
Oh, okay.
So it's great to play in those venues. But at the end of the day, you want that six man, and I believe our fans are our six man when we're at home. They are right on top of you.
Damn.
There's no room to.
I remember going to a few Gorman games in just that small arena. It was loud.
Yes.
So
it's a pretty cool environment, and it's not like the high schools out here. So it's its own unique kind of thing. So it's pretty cool. I mean, obviously, who wouldn't want bigger, better, nicer? Yeah. Everybody wants that, but it does its job.
For what it is at the moment, that works.
Yeah, it does its job.
So what do you think, because like I said, everybody's, chasing NIL money, everybody's doing, trying to get to the bigger school or whatever, or get the name brand school, but what do you think that, a player coming out of high school, because now you're competing against grown men, it's not even no more high school kids really, you're competing against a 24-year-old. What do you think like a kid needs to do to show out or like be that one out there to be like, okay, I could do it too.
Yeah, get their ass in the gym.
Yeah, you just work out.
Get your ass in the gym.
And that
solves all problems. Whatever problem you have as a basketball player, get in the gym.
That's it.
That's it. Just like in school, right? You're struggling in class,
correct.
Study.
Okay.
There's no magic formula,
Yeah.
And this is the thing. People will always say you're competing against older players. Well, guess what? There's some older players that are booted too. What you're competing against now, which you weren't competing against 10 years ago, you're competing against good basketball players.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of freshmen. DJ Thomas was one, right?
Yeah.
not even a true freshman, a young freshman
he killed too.
that was killing it, right? Cooper Flagg, obviously, right? But there are the kid at Florida that came off the bench. I can't remember his name. Really good freshman, right? What you're competing against are good basketball players. Everybody's good.
Yeah.
So teams don't have a spot on the roster for a guy that's not really that good anymore.
Yeah, or not even trying.
Yeah. Over the next 5 years, I think we're going to weed out all of the bad basketball players that are just there because they're big, or they're just there because they're fast. Or
do you think there's a lot more, how do you call it, internet basketball players more than actual basketball players?
Yeah.
Like they show good film, they hype, they got the, the media behind them, and that's what you think you're getting, and you get
but they get in the gym.
Clicks.
They get in the gym. They get in the gym against your players that they don't. And I say to our guys, I say, listen, you need to take offense to this, because these guys watched the games and they said, "Oh, I could play there."
Yeah,
that's an insult.
Oh, yeah.
That is the ultimate insult. So you'll see a guy off the street come into our open runs, and our guys, our CSN guys, double the ball, trap them, all kinds of stuff.
I hate that.
Just really punch them in the face and let them know you don't belong here.
Yeah.
This isn't this isn't your 13th year of school.
Yeah.
This isn't rec league with classes. This is college basketball. We take this serious. We take this team, this program serious, and you are a weekend warrior at best. This isn't for you.
Yeah.
And some guys have had to get out of there with their tail tucked, and other guys have proven, hey, I'm good enough. And that's what you want. You want guys fighting for those moments. You want guys fighting for the opportunity to wear that jersey. If it's something that's just given to them, it's not going to mean anything to them.
Do you think a CSN could be more like the pipeline to UNLV? Like as far as getting, you come over here, get ready, and come over here?
That's the goal. I mean, our job, not our goal, our job is to send our kids to the next level.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes it's Division I, sometimes it's Division II, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. I want our kids to get degrees. And if this new rule is put into place where they're getting 4 years on top of the 2 that they play with us, that means every kid that comes to our program, definitely 100% will have a bachelor's degree, and a vast majority of them should have master's degrees.
Yeah.
Because if you can play 2 years for us, then go to a 4-year school and get 4 years, you should get your bachelor's within your first 3 years there, and then start working towards your master's degree.
So you're a step ahead already.
You're a step ahead.
As soon as you finish basketball, whatever it is.
That's if we're doing our job.
Correct.
And doing that means we need to hold ourselves accountable. We need to hold our kids accountable. And we need to send them to places that we know are going to have them get there in the summer, start taking classes. And then by the time they finish their sophomore year there, they have their bachelor's or close. So then they go in their junior and senior year, they're working towards their master's. They should graduate with a master's degree.
Is your guys' success rate pretty good as far as kids graduating?
We're going to see. We're going to see. Right now, all of our sophomores are graduating. Okay. So that we're happy with that. We're very happy with that. But associate's degrees, it's not the goal.
Yeah, of course.
It's not the goal. The goal is, for me, the goal is a master's degree. Because if you look at a job, it says bachelor's degree required, master's degree preferred.
Oh, okay.
We want to go above and beyond. So I'm constantly preaching that to them. Our staff wants that from them. We want them at the highest level. Then, we'll see what happens from there.
Are you think the kids are as bought in as you guys are? As far as wanting that as well?
Oh, yeah. So I teach a class that it's kind of a basketball class. And I don't go over rules and none of that stuff. I have them scout games. I have them scout us as a team.
Gotcha.
Just to get them to understand, it's twofold. For them to understand what scouting entails, so that they're better, so they're more capable of understanding a scouting report. If they've done a scouting report and they watch the team and what they do and what the player does and how you should stop it, maybe that helps change their vantage point so they can understand how to read a scouting report, right? The other thing, though, and I think is really, really, really big, is it allows them to to invest in what it is we're building. And as I read the stuff that they contribute, right, it blows me away how smart they are.
Yeah.
And then I see some of the things that we are constantly saying creep into their vernacular. So I know that it's resonating with them. And that's the biggest thing. You know, I don't know if you have kids, but
Yeah.
when you teach them something, right? And then you see them tell their cousin,
Oh, yeah.
it's the greatest reward. It's the greatest thing, right? Because you feel like, okay, I've done it. This is right. I'm doing it right.
Exactly.
You know, so yeah, I'm 100% confident that they've bought it.
So do you, I mean, you're a coach, so, I mean, obviously, do you see aspiration getting to the D1 level or even trying to coach NBA or what's the?
Having been at the D1 level, I would like to return there. Having won a national championship, I wanted to win a national championship, but once I won one, I really want to win one now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, before it was like, man, I would love to have a pony and I would love to go to Disneyland. And
How much greater would it be doing it at home?
Once you do it, though, oh, my God. So, and that's what I was saying. Winning a national championship in 2014 was amazing. But growing up here in this community and always saying, we need a JUCO, we need a JUCO.
Yeah.
You know, all of these guys, great players, too. Mike Johnson, Javon Banks, Marcus Banks, Rich Thornton, Cliff Reed. All these great players go to JUCOs and have success and move on. If we had a JUCO here, I mean, do you understand? If we had a JUCO here, Cliff Reed and Rich Thornton would have been playing on the same JUCO team. Mike Johnson, you know, Marcus Banks, Pierre Jackson.
Yeah.
These guys were these were Division I JUCO All-Americans.
Yeah.
They would be right here. One of our assistant coaches, Brian Wilcox, was J.R. Ryder's point guard out in California. He'd have been a point guard here if we had a JUCO. You know what I mean? So for us to be able, for Brian and myself and Coach Lee, for us to be able to bring that here, you know, and I talk about this with Coach Perry, HP, Harvey Perry all the time. We built this here, and we have taken it to this next level. No one can take that away from us. We did it the way this city wants to play basketball.
Yeah.
The city has embraced it. The kids are embracing it. The coaches are embracing it. For me, getting my jersey retired, going overseas, winning a national championship, this is number one on the list because this is what I've done for Las Vegas.
How close do you think we are to that?
I think we're extremely close. I think we are much closer than anyone could imagine. Like we are.
I mean, you hit the fan base for sure, so.
We beat a team this year that finished 30-3.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right on the doorstep knocking.
And they were rattled in that little bitty gym on Cheyenne. They were rattled.
Oh, they came here and played and lost.
We played here and won. We played there and lost. Oh. They were ranked in the nation the majority of the season. They won our region. They went to play for a national tournament. They lost to Snow. And Snow was number one in the nation.
Snow has always been good, even in football.
Yeah. So they lost to Snow. Snow had been, and ironically, the point guard for Snow is the baby brother of the point guard that I had at Phoenix College. When we lost in the Final Four in 2015, that kid cried and sobbed in the locker room. Yeah. And now he is who his brother was 10 years ago.
You guys went to the national, won in 14, right? And then lost in the Final Four.
Yeah, we lost in the Final Four.
So you had one back-to-back?
Yeah, almost went back-to-back. Should have gone back-to-back. Man, gosh.
So seeing from the Tark days to now and seeing how the city's transitioned in basketball as far as like players and everything, what do you think of it so far? Like the big transition, like it's a basketball city now.
As far as UNLV or the city?
The city itself, like just basketball being a basketball city.
It's amazing. You know, when I was coming out, we had Brian Baumgartner, Big Jake, rest in peace, Ted Allen. Cliff Reed wasn't big, but he was an absolute monster. We didn't have bigs like that. Mm-hmm. You know, now every school has a kid 6'7", 6'8". Yeah. And we're getting to that point. You know, and it's always been this way. I mean, you know, we'd have one or two. People forget, you know, H. Waldman was recruited out of here to the number one team in America, arguably the best college basketball team of all time. He was their number one recruit. Yeah. You know? Ron Riley came out of Clark High School, goes to Arizona State, ends up being a second all-time leading scorer at Arizona State. You know, we've always had players here, really good players here. The problem always was is when college coaches came to Vegas to look at players. Yeah, I'm from Jersey. I'm going to go see how the kid in Jersey does against some of the best. We're recruiting him at Rutgers. We're recruiting at St. John. No one was coming here to see, what's in Vegas?
Yeah.
You know, so we were getting overlooked throughout the late 80s and mid 90s because, yes, there was these big tournaments here, but coaches weren't coming to see Vegas kids.
Yeah.
They were coming to see the kids they were recruiting in the Midwest or down south,
Correct.
right? Now, and tip your hat to Grant Rice, the success that Gorman has had has brought a spotlight on the amount of talent that's here.
Yeah.
We have always had guards. Now we're getting good wings, great shooters, some talented bigs. You know, Xavier Stanton has done a good job of being a legitimate big that people all over the nation really are paying attention to. I think basketball-wise in Vegas, we're proving that we're worth our salt. We're worth our weight in gold.
Oh, yeah.
The other one is football.
Oh, yeah.
So now when we're able to do that both in football, and the unsung hero in this too, I think is our girls volleyball. Our girls volleyball is recognized around the nation as really, really good. So I think people are beginning to see, and as the city grows, that always helps, you know what I mean? But as the city grows, people are beginning to see there's talent here. It's year-round for baseball and football and other stuff. So, yeah, I think it's amazing.
We'll get there. I mean, maybe they'll bring Finley Prep back. They were talking about it.
Yeah, right.
But, yeah, I mean, so what are your goals for this season or for this upcoming year coming up?
Well, our motto is we want to recruit up. We want the program going upward, not staying where it is. You know, we want to move it forward.
So is it key to get high school kids, or is it to get, kids from
the
other
goal
JUCOs?
is the goal is to put the best 5 guys on the floor every night. And we can do that if we have a good solid 12 to 14 guys.
Yeah.
So when, like, 2-3 weeks ago, we had 42 guys in the gym, right? So the tough part is figuring out. The easy part is figuring out who the best 20 guys are.
So these are all just guys come out to compete on the team?
that want to play.
Where are these kids coming from? Just
here, everywhere, all over,
Dang.
But it's like the easy part is figuring out who the best 25 are.
Yeah.
The hard part is figuring out what are the best 12 to 14 guys to put together. This guy may be great, but will he become a pariah? Will he just drain the locker room? This guy's not as good, but he can do some things that no one else does. So do we need that? Then obviously you got to be, it's not expected that you're in great condition now, but it looks really good if right now on your own, you're already in good condition because of what we're going to demand from you, right? We know that we can get you there, but if you're already there on your own, then we're already ahead of the game. If we got to, burn 15 pounds of fat off of you, then get you in shape.
The discipline.
But if you've been working, there's a kid that, bless his soul, last year was just too heavy. And said, if you want to play, I told him, if you want to play at the next level, you need to lose weight.
Yeah.
Not only did he lose the weight, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And those are the type of guys that make a program great.
Yeah, the wanting to do it.
Yeah, and they want to be a part of it. You don't have to convince them that this is a good place to be. They want to be here. So when you have those kind of guys, the success of the program is that they own the success of the program. You're not trying to convince them, hey, this could be successful. They take pride in it.
Yeah.
They take pride. Like, my home is a place of love. If you come there, you'll get a good, plate of rice and beans, a lot of good Puerto Rican food. It's a loving place, right? I take pride in the fact that there's love there.
Correct.
Right? I don't have to convince you when you get there, hey, we're all going to love each other. Just open up. No. I want you to come there, relax, be yourself. And I take pride in the fact that you'll leave feeling well-fed and feeling loved. That's how the program should be.
Yeah.
And the guys themselves take pride in what it is we are. They buy in, and they want guys with them that buy in. Yeah. So I think we're knocking on the door, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I want to thank you for coming out.
Oh,
like
definitely,
I said, one of the first coaches to do it.
Yeah,
to come on the episode, and like I said, we just want to shed light on the city.
Man,
keep people coming in, and we hope you guys have a great season.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And hopefully I get out there and watch again. Cause
I remember
going there.
Yeah, yeah,
And I remember there
yeah.
was nothing there. It's like I said, it's all intramurals, like
Nothing.
football, all that stuff.
Nothing.
For it to hear that's even in this direction, you're part of
Yeah.
it. For being from here, it makes a big deal.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, man.
That concludes our episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
All right,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Thanks, man.